Now we're ready for fraction division part A, and this lesson is great because it really shows a lot of modeling and what it means to divide a fraction. There are no activities in the student guide, and if you go to the Learning Coach guide, you will see that everything for this lesson is online. So you can use that guide as a supplement to talk about, some tips and tricks on how to teach this unit, but there are no activities that you need to complete independently outside of the online school. Basically, what we want to review is the dividend is the number that is going to be divided up by the divisor, and then the quotient is the answer. And this lesson talks about, if division with whole numbers is not a lot different than division with fractions. So if you have 4 and you divide it by 2, how many groups of 2 do you have? Well, you have 2. So then if we move on and we talk about, well, what if that 2 is substituted with a fraction? Well, it's the same thing. If you have 4 and you divide it by thirds, how many thirds do you have? And you can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, one thing that you may be tempted to do is resort to the standard algorithm where you take the problem and you change the sign and flip to the reciprocal, but that really isn't helping students understand what division is. So this lesson is key, and we don't really want kids to follow that procedure. Here's another great tutorial that talks about how to divide a whole number by a fraction, and as you go through, it will give step by step and the parts and model this for you. Then there are additional examples using a number line. So if we have 6 wholes and we divide that into fourths, and remember there's 4/4, or 4/4 is the same as 1, so there's 4/4 in every single piece. So if we have 4 6 times, because we would have this repeated over and over and over and over and over, how many pieces would we have? How many fourths would there be in the total piece? Next, we're going to talk a little bit more about the area model, or using shapes. So this one basically says here we have 2 wholes, and if you have pattern blocks at home, or you can also print these online, if you just Google printable pattern blocks, you can print out some of these manipulatives. And so we have 2 wholes divided by 6, and so as you see, we can see how many different groups are considered to be in 2 wholes. So there are 12 6 in 2 wholes, so the answer would be 12. And so you'll continue to do additional models like that. Here we are dividing something into fourths. So we have 3 hexagons that are our wholes, and we have, or we're dividing by thirds, we have how many thirds are in 3 wholes? So, like I mentioned, instead of saying, okay, we need to change the sign and flip, basically we have just shown that there are 3, 6, 9. There are 9 thirds in 3 wholes. Now, if we had followed that procedure and we've changed the sign and turned it into a multiplication and then did the reciprocal, we would see 3 times 3 is 9. So it does work, but we want students to know why it works first. Here's a different type of model. Here we have 4 inches, but we're dividing it into halves. How many halves are in 4 inches? And so as the model is created, you can count the different halves. So 4 divided by 1/2 equals 8. This lesson does have a checkpoint, and the checkpoint is very similar to everything that has been done throughout the lesson. So when we click on the answers or question types to review, you will see a variety of different models. Here we have 2 wholes, and it's divided by thirds. This could be a little tricky if you don't know exactly what you're doing, but think about how many wholes and what it's being divided by. In this next one, we have the whole number line. It shows 4, and it's divided by thirds. How many thirds does it have? And then we have this area model. the whole area is 3 meters, but how many fourths are in the 3 meters? And you can see they're not necessarily looking as much for the answer, they're looking for which one of these represents the model. We have 3 wholes and they're divided by halves. How many halves in all? And so after you complete that checkpoint, there will be the chance just to mark this lesson complete. Like I said, there is nothing in the student activity guide for you to work on. And so this is a great lesson that just reviews the modeling of fraction division. And this is a key critical component to being able to do more abstract things with fractions.